Dami, CEO of Clientele Boosters. We've been around for about 7 to 8 years, started in West Melbourne at 19. Now at 26, going on 27, we've been fortunate to grow to about 100 staff members across 7 countries, staff across Australia, Philippines, West Africa, so Ghana, Nigeria, and Europe as well, and growing. And at the moment, we're doing anywhere between about 2 to 3 million a year in revenue, and not looking to slow down. So today I want to talk about influence. And influence has a mixture of connotations when people think of that word, right? For me, I was a fat kid as a child. I used to play a lot of guitar and I used to sing a lot. So I used to be very musical. Who's heard of the Jonas Brothers? Can someone do like a thumbs up or an emoji if you've heard of the Jonas Brothers from Disney Channel? Casey's heard of the Jonas Brothers. Anyone else? Albin's heard of the Jonas Brothers. Tracy, cool. So I was that fat black kid that would sing at church, write music, a bit quirky, and I would memorize Jonas Brothers songs and record them, and I'd play piano and I would sing. But I was always extremely competitive, out of insecurity, probably. So I would practice on my electric guitar, practice on the acoustic, and then perform. And by 10 years old, I would win awards against other year fives and other year fours and other year sixes. And then I'd get to high school. I'd get to year seven. I'd get out of this Christian church musical bubble. And I was a minority in this new school. And I was around people that had never really met many black people before. And for the first time, I learned what the word nigger meant. They were like, that means a fat. And I was like, what does this even mean? I went to Urban Dictionary, looked it up, and I was like, I started bawling my eyes out, crying. And that day, I made the switch from music to sports. But what you notice here is a lot of influence, a lot of the reason why people have mixture of connotations with influence. Hey, Bo, good to have you.
My man, good to see ya.
Good to see you, my brother. Thanks for jumping on.
Of
What's up, Saya?
course.
How are you, Saya?
I I keep it on, bro. How are you?
Good, good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for jumping in. So, when we think of the word influence, guys, a lot of the times it spawns out of insecurity. A lot of the times it spawns out of insecurity. So, today I'm going to show you the frameworks that allow you to actually formulaically use influence, not just in sales, not just in marketing, not just in negotiation, but also in life. These are some of the principles that I learned going from insecure, fat, chubby at 10, 11, 12, being a musical nerd, to then a basketball player that would take these kinds of unconscious ways of persuading to America to then play basketball in LA and Sacramento at 18. And now, by the grace of God, being able to run a multi-7-figure company at 26. So before we jump into what I'm going to share with you guys, I want to ask a few of you what emotions you associate with the word influence. Let's start with Melbert. And if Melbert can't hear us, then we'll start with Albin.
Hey, bro, I can start if you like, my man.
Go ahead.
Great. I would say influence your ability to, let's say, inspire or enact movement or change on another person, perhaps. Something like that, maybe.
I love that. I love that. Inspire movement, enact change. Saya, what emotions do you associate with the word influence?
Your ability to make someone to do something.
Ability to make someone do something. Love it. Okay. KC, what emotions do you associate with the word influence?
Emotions. Uh, it's something exciting for me. Yeah, if I can influence someone, I see it
Something
as exciting.
exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Champ.
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah, for me, it's probably more on making a big impact from that person.
Making a big impact.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I like that. Jen, what emotions do you associate with the word influence?
Yeah, hi Chab. For me, it's trust because you build confidence and you also build cooperation.
Yep,
That's
I
for me.
love it. Fantastic. Yeah, you can definitely build confidence and motivation. So for me, and I'll share the screen as I do this, when I think of the word influence, I think of the word power. And a lot of people feel uncomfortable with the word power. But when I think of power, I think of resourcefulness. So let me share my screen. Share. All right. All right. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So I think of the word power. So when people think of the word power, who's read, give me a thumbs up if you've read Laws of Seduction by Robert Greene. Anyone read Laws of Seduction? Interesting. Okay. Few people or none. Okay. So power is misconstrued because when people think of power, they think of a tyrant, someone that has uncontrollable desires they want to enforce onto other people by their own will. I want this done. I tell them to get this done. I hate this person. Deal with this person. I'm angry. Feel my anger. But power really is actually responsibility. So even when people have a positive association with power, it means that they have a healthier relationship with responsibility over themselves, that they can help with others as well. So when we think of influence and power, these are a few areas that you guys can use these things in that we're going to break down. Sales, leadership, marketing, public speaking, negotiation, entrepreneurship, and the most important one, which is building relationships. An organization, an organism is a collection of individuals and collection of things to make something work together cohesively. So building relationships is what we're going to explore here. So how does this work? When people think of influence, and many of you guys are salespeople, they tend to think of either very, very logical ways of influencing people or very, very emotional ways. But there's two hemispheres of the brain. There's the left hemisphere and there's the right hemisphere, right? And the next slide, I'm going to show you a 4-step framework that we use to tie the knots of both that have allowed us to get to the point where we can routinely bring in 5 to 10 clients a week using these 4 patterns. But most people believe they make purely logical decisions. But if you really think about it, I mean, the clothes we wear, we could wear the same clothes every day, but we still buy expensive shoes. We could think we're picking the right politician, but really no politician is perfect. But it's the perception or the story that we've told ourselves, and story is a key word. It's the story we've been told or that we tell ourselves, that we influence ourselves with, that allow us to both emotionally and have the perception of logically picking a correct politician. Even choosing universities. You know, I live in Melbourne, Australia. Some of you guys are in Melbourne on this call. I know Bo is. In Melbourne, some of the most popular universities is the University of Melbourne. I played basketball at the University of Melbourne, but I studied at Deakin. And I remember being 17, 18, just about to go play basketball in America. And I'm telling my parents that are in the medical field, my dad's side of the family, they were professors in Nigeria. My mom came from a very good and I guess somewhat wealthy part of Nigeria. They had me in Fiji. They were dead broke. And the one thing that they wanted for me, study at Melbourne Uni. You got a good ATAR, study at Melbourne Uni. Basketball's good, but focus on uni first, right? Business can start later. Focus on uni first. Mom and dad, I'm going to have to break your heart because I'm not going to fall for this emotional story that you're substantiating with logic and statistics that this is the right path for me. But everything, you can perceive it as logical or emotional if you tell yourself the correct story. We'll go deeper there in a second. And of course, relationships. Thumbs up if you, and I'm actually going to see how many of you thumbs up because I might shut you out. How many of you guys are in relationships on this call? Married, dating, seeing someone semi-seriously? Princess? Who else is in a relationship on this call? Jen? Cool. Cool. Okay, let's just say a few of you know. So the psychology behind influence. So there's usually 5 buckets that people fall into. The emotion versus logic, which we've discussed. 2 is trust. 3 is identity. 4 is social proof. 5 is storytelling. I want to get you guys' opinion before I reveal what I think is the most important factor out of all 5. And by the way, some of you have your own businesses. Some of you have businesses much greater than mine and much more sales experience than I. But there is something that we've noticed worked for us. So who thinks number 1 out of the 5, emotion versus logic, is the most important factor with influence? Give me a thumbs up if you think it's number 1. Okay, Princess thinks it's emotion versus logic. Cool. Okay. Who thinks it's trust? Who thinks trust is the most important factor with influence? Casey, and I think someone else as well. Who thinks it's identity? Okay, cool. Social proof. Who thinks it's social proof when you see a bunch of Google reviews or when you hear a word of mouth recommendation? Who thinks it's social proof? Interesting. The University of Sydney, a lot of them, when I did this presentation, they thought it was social proof. Okay. Who thinks it's storytelling? Hi, Peter. Thanks for jumping on. Nice to meet you. Okay, interesting. So no one guessed. So we found that it is storytelling by like hundreds of percentiles. If you guys notice, the first thing I did on this call was I started with a story. I said I was 26, started the business at 19, played basketball overseas. I was chubby and insecure, started off musical. Storytelling is extremely powerful for influence. So here's our 4-step influence framework that allows us to bring in multiple deals, oftentimes a day, but consistently per week across different industries. Now, number 1 is agreement. Now, a lot of you guys have learned sales from the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Obviously, we've all heard of the straight line system. Most sales guys are going to start with agreement, and we also agree. So, for example, if someone says it's too expensive, mate, I completely agree. But where a lot of people go wrong is they don't use a story. Stories grant access to the subconscious mind. So if I go to a different country and I don't speak their language, I can be like kangaroo, Australia, story, right? Symbolism. That's how we communicate across cultures. So if someone says, and we'll talk about the 3 archetypes of storytelling that we use and that we're trained to practice with. If someone says it's too expensive, mate, absolutely it's too expensive. You know what? You remind me of this client